You are listening to Swamp Things, a podcast about University of Florida sports with the Orlando Sentinel's Edgar Thompson and the AP's Mark Long. Edgar and Mark discuss the goings-on with the Gators in Gainesville, where each is a longtime resident who has seen championship success, coaching turmoil, and plenty of drama on and off the field.
Greetings and welcome to Swamp Things, a podcast about the Florida Gators. It's November 20th, 2025. I'm Edgar Thompson of the Orlando Sentinel, joined by Mark Long of the Associated Press here in Gainesville, Florida. Crazy times here in Gainesville, Mark. The Lane Kiffin drama continues. It's ever-changing. More than a month after Billy Napier's ouster now. October 19th is now November 20th, and it's just starting, right? This coaching search is going to never end. Kiffin's, trying to stay the course at Ole Miss, despite the twists and turns of the Florida's coaching search here. They're pushing for a college football playoff berth for the first time in school history. And he's trying to stay focused on it while everyone else pushes for an answer about his future. You were in the Wednesday teleconference yesterday. Mark's over at the Jags trying to juggle that. And, we're trying to take Lane's temperature. And it got uncomfortable. Honestly, reporters are asking this question a half dozen times, a half dozen different ways. Like they think suddenly he's going to say, okay, you got me. It's like, you got your answer, let's move on. But I tell you, man, the holding pattern we're in is exhausting for all parties involved, Mark, at this point.
Yeah, and it really goes back to, you can make the case that this should have been done last year, right? And you wouldn't be in this fight for Lane Kiffin. You would have Lane Kiffin by yourself. You would have, Florida would have fired Billy Napier and had a direct path to Lane Kiffin, and probably would have gotten him, especially when they get left out of the playoff at 9-3 or whatever it was. But I don't know what the plan was. Obviously the plan was to go get Lane Kiffin. And then the week after you fired Lane Kiffin, LSU fires Brian Kelly, and it just throws a complete wrench in the whole works. So now you're sitting here, and I don't know what plan B is, right? But, Jeremy Foley fired Ron Zook. What year was that? That would have been 2004.
October 24th.
Yeah, in 2004. And he said what needs to be done eventually must be done immediately. Urban Meyer was the target, right? That was a slam dunk. Urban Meyer was the guy. And it was locked and loaded. And then the next week, Notre Dame creates a panic by firing Ty Willingham, or a couple weeks later. And this is very similar, right? Florida's sitting here hoping for the best, but bracing for the worst. And you got the best in 2004 with Urban picking Florida over Notre Dame. I don't know. I have no idea what Lane Kiffin's thinking right now. You got to assume he's picking between LSU and Florida, and there's at least smoke, if not complete fire, that Florida's going to miss out on this guy. And then what?
Well, that smoke has arisen very recently. We were over at Todd Golden. Someone's telling us he's suddenly here in LSU. I'm getting phone calls talking to LSU people. I'm it's just it's absolutely crazy. I got to tell you a quick tip of the cap to Wesley. She pulls, our faithful producer, a Ron Zook photo. That's pretty good, Wesley. Urban Meyer probably didn't like that photo. You need to get a better one of him. He looked pretty dour in that one. But I tell you, if we know one thing about Kiffin, right? He's unpredictable as a play caller and a person. And this search is staying on brand for sure. He changed his mind about leaving Auburn in 2022, right? 2022. And it caused a lot of ill will at Ole Miss because that season collapsed with 4 straight losses. And I think the Rebels felt they had a really good team, and it just went off the cliff. And the fear in Oxford is this could become a distraction again. It is a distraction, and it could somehow derail their efforts at the Egg Bowl next week in Starkville, where we talked about the other day. Some weird things can happen in that game. It's a rivalry game. Jeff Lebby's team has been competitive In a lot of games it's lost. Now it's gotten blown out a time or two, but it's a pretty, well-oiled machine on offense. And, you get tight, the stakes are high, you're on the road, the bells are clanging, and you choke. And then it's like, Lane Kiffin's going to be public enemy number one there for two reasons, right? You ruined our season and you're leaving us behind. I realized too, he could stay I'm not going to say he's going to, but he could decide, look, Florida's a better job. He's even listing off the reasons of what great jobs entail. And Florida checks all the boxes. Ole Miss checks none of them in terms of facilities, Heisman's tradition, recruiting footprint. But, he's built a life there. And he might decide, quality of life over coaching legacy. Probably won't. And then there's LSU to consider, which we're considering much more than we were when we put this plan together an hour ago. But one of my things too, and I was going to ask you this, and maybe it's a moot point now because this push we're hearing that's suddenly happening from Baton Rouge is the sense of urgency. No one can just let this thing play out a little bit. Let him coach his team. Let these other guys that are entering, that are going to be looking for jobs too, whether it's Alex Golich at USF, Jon Sumerall at Tulane, and the long list of people that could be making moves in this, coaching carousel. Just no one can let this thing play out a little bit. The season can't end soon enough for these people.
Yeah, it's a calendar issue, and I don't know that it's ever going to get fixed up, but it's also a mentality issue. This is how college football works, is you fire your coach and you hope to have the next guy lined up or brought in the next week or so. And if it lasts longer than that, the fan base starts to panic. You go look at the NFL model. The Jacksonville Jags interviewed 10 guys, maybe even 12 for their head coaching vacancy. Other teams do the same thing. You roll through, you narrow the list, and then you come back with a second interview for your finalists, and then you pick and announce. It is the way it's supposed to be. Now, there are obviously rules with the NFL in terms of you can't hire somebody else's head coach. That's a big difference here. You got to have there's certain windows that you can talk to coordinators. So that's the big deal. And I don't know that's ever going to happen in college football because NFL is one of 32, college football, 133 just in FBS. So that part, but it's a flawed model. That's first and foremost, that these people are behind the scenes competing for these head coaches instead of just interviewing 10 guys and saying, who's the best fit? Who fits best with me? Hey, here are the 5 of the 10 we liked. Now let's go back to these 5 and have a second interview. Well, it doesn't work like that. You got one agent basically running 3/4 of the market in the coaching. That's a problem. Everything is just jacked up when it comes to a college coaching search. And it works well when Billy Napier's your guy and nobody else is after Billy Napier, and you fire Dan Mullen and you hire Billy Napier, a week or two later. That's the easy route, right? This is now much more of an NFL type, but again, it's happening while these guys are still in season. Lane was right. He said it the other day. He said his team should be celebrating the fact that he's wanted, that he's being wooed and courted by 2 other teams, but it's a total backlash. And it's got to be wearing on him. And certainly it's wearing on these other schools because they start ramping up. Florida's trying to pressure Lane. Florida's probably trying to pressure Lane. You got the agent involved. Ole Miss trying to pressure Lane for an answer. So all of that is just creates this convergence where it's a mess.
So I'm ready. I'll say that I'm ready.
Yeah.
And who knows? Let's hope he doesn't go to New York Giants because I don't have that written. But but it's like we're just like trying to cover our rear ends because we have no clue what's coming. So we still think it's going to be Lane. I'm pretty confident it's still going to be Lane coming to Gainesville. Less confident as time goes, but pretty confident. What happens if it isn't Lane? So yesterday, there's a long list of possible fallbacks. One emerged yesterday, Tulane's Jon Sumerall. I'm sitting here going, okay, a group of 5 coach from Louisiana is the last thing you want to hire after the fiasco that was Billy Napier. But you can't think that way either, just because this guy happens to be a Group of 5 coach in the state that, the worst coach in Florida history arguably came from. But I will say that we have boots on the ground in New Orleans. Our longtime colleague and friend, Gary Smith, he covers Tulane for the Baton Rouge Advocate, and he went straight to the source. No meeting, according to this. Now, Gary could have been lied to, though he says he's been dealing with an honest broker during these 2 seasons. He said it would have been a great acting job. So who really knows what went down with the Sumerall thing? But it's just a microcosm of the whole situation, right? You got, who's this guy? What's this guy thinking? Is this guy available? Would fans embrace him? No one's going to embrace anyone but Lane Kiffin ultimately. But if you do have a fallback option, you better get somebody that your donors that's going to excite your donors, excite your fan base, and is going to win football games on top of it. So I don't know. I still think it's Lane.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but I think it's a little bit of it's kind of a shell game, right? 3-card monte right now. You got Ole Miss under 1 cap, you got Florida under 1 cap, you got LSU, and these things are just flying all around, right? And you're trying to track it and keep tabs on where's the Lane Kiffin, where under which hat. And I think ultimately Lane's going to, it's going to be like the old recruiting days where the guy that, pulls out 5 hats and then puts on the Florida hat. I think that's where we're going to end up. But
knowing Lane, he'll put the Ole Miss cap on and go, just kidding, and put the Gators.
Yeah, right. And troll everybody. But I think Ole Miss is hoping against hope here. I think this guy is leaving. You don't send your ex-wife and kid to Gainesville and Baton Rouge if there's even a minuscule chance that you're staying in Ole Miss. It just doesn't make sense. You are leaving Ole Miss, you are leaving Oxford, and you're sending them on a scouting mission. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Gainesville? Do you want to go to Baton Rouge? Go check it out and let me know. I'm up to leave. I think I'm ready to leave. It's probably time to leave. These are both great jobs. They both want me. They want to make me the highest paid coach in college football history. All good. So now we got to decide. You got to do work, right? And so that's where I think this thing is in Lane's kind of court, and he's doing work. And I think people are panicking a little bit. My guess is Lane's probably panicking. I mean, it's a bye week for Ole Miss, so this guy's out doubling back, like double back with Florida. Go talk to some money men. Go talk to Florida Victorious. Double back with LSU. Go talk to the money men. Go talk to the governor. Go talk to anybody you need to talk to get some assurances about the job. And then Lane's got to figure out where does he really want to be? What's the better job? Where can he win championships? Where's his family gonna be happier? All that absolutely weighs in.
Well, there is a football game this weekend at the Swamp, by the way, Mark, if you'd forgotten. But before we get to that, because it's a sideshow to this thing at this point, right? Let's kind of reverse the pod and do a couple of unsubstantiated rumors real quickly, which, is pretty much all the reporting on this in many ways, bless you, I have one because there's a theory Lincoln Riley's going to enter the picture, USC's coach, that he was interested in the Gator job even 4 years ago when he was bolting from Oklahoma, which I don't know about that. That Oklahoma to USC thing, that was a head spinner, right? That one was like, whoa, what happened there? I mean, there was no lead up to that thing. But could he enter the picture if Lane goes or doesn't stay in Oxford or exit stage left, I guess, to Baton Rouge, right? Is that left? I think it's left. But the guy's a heck of a football coach. He's 89 and 26. He's 42 years old and coached 9 seasons. So his best years could well be ahead of him. Urban got here at age 41, right? So Lincoln Riley has a lot of runway ahead of him. I was told Wednesday he's a no-go with UF. So Florida fans probably don't want to hear that because if they don't get Lane, I think they could accept Lincoln Riley because he's a superstar kind of coach with potentially his best years ahead of him. You hearing any?
Yeah, well,
Or you have
speaking
any?
of fallback candidates, I have a couple. I heard Drinkwitz is out. Like something happened in the vetting process, and Eli Drinkwitz is gone and not no longer an option for Florida. So that's a little bit of a surprise. We know Scott liked Drink and thought the world of this guy. He's won at Missouri, made him a very competitive team every year he's been there for the most part. So, but I heard he's out. And then I've heard that Jed Fish is like the, in case of emergency, break glass option, that he'll come, he would take it. You can sell him a little bit with his story, being a Florida grad, being a grad assistant under Spurrier, wearing the visor because of Spurrier. Maybe you can sell Jed Fish. But I also heard that the Gators are back on their way to Oxford today or somewhere to meet Lane Kiffin again. And they were bringing Florida Victorious leader Jose Costa to help seal the deal. So, there's a lot going on, a lot of rumors. It's hard to pin them down and find out what's true, what's not true. But if this is true, it makes a lot of sense that, you would bring the money guy along to show Lane how committed you are from a financial standpoint, because that really matters.
Show me the money. I tell you, we're showing a lot of blue screen here at Wesley. I guess we're entering our blue period because we're going to be in it if Lane Kiffin doesn't come here. Because I tell you, man, if it isn't Lane, it is just going to be a gut punch to the Gators and the fans, even to us a little bit, right? I mean, I'm kind of geared up to cover Lane. He's fun. He's got some personality. He's got, the needle. He's got the offense. It would be an entertaining.
He's Spurrier 2.0, as you wrote. That's who he is, and they're ready.
It isn't like I identified that, but yes, I parroted many people's thoughts on the whole Spurrier 2.0 theory, and yeah, it would be it would fit like a glove, but we'll see. I'll tell you. So we do. It's kind of interestingly, the opponent this week is not Lane Kiffin fans. The Tennessee Vols are coming to the Swamp. He left them in the lurch. 2009, coached one season there after 20 games with the Raiders, and then headed off to USC, where he was fired 4 years later, I think, on a tarmac in the plane, right? Pat Hayden told him not even get off the plane. So that was early Lane Kiffin. I think he's matured a lot. We'll be getting a better version of Lane Kiffin if we do. But the Vols are coming to the Swamp. They haven't won here since 2003, 10 straight losses in the Swamp. Gators, meanwhile, are looking at a 3-game losing streak and salvage something out of this season. Reason for optimism for the Gators, Mark?
Yeah, you just touched on it. You own this team in Gainesville, right? This is 10 straight years. Some of these kids weren't even born the last time the last time Tennessee won in the Swamp. 2003, Casey Clausen, Phil Fulmer was still coaching Tennessee. And that was a debacle. Florida probably had the better team that year, was favored by 6 points or something like that. And Ron Zook went all Ron Zook and lost the game. He tried to run out the clock in the first half, but he threw the ball on second down, 2nd and 3. They throw the ball, throw incomplete, and it leaves enough time on the clock after the punt for Tennessee. It, throws a Hail Mary, basically a Hail Mary, and throws a 48-yard touchdown pass on the final play of the first half. All of a sudden, Florida loses. Was it 24-10 was the final? Something like that.
Oh,
but
just off.
Otherwise, it's, 10, it's been nothing but it's been all Florida since. Now, Tennessee's been a little bit more competitive of late. 2 years ago, again, looked like, I think Tennessee was favored, maybe even 5.5 points going into that game. Florida still won. The average margin of victory over those 10 is 31-16. So it's not like, these things are nail biters and Tennessee's just kind of lost a bunch of, heartbreakers. These are juggernauts. Florida's, even bad Florida teams, and we know this is a bad Florida series. When you're looking at those 20 years, it's mostly bad Florida or relatively bad Florida. and they've still kind of had Tennessee's number. I think the last 35 games since the series started in 1990, there have been 35 games. I think Florida is 26-9 in the 35 games since they made it an annual series. So it's been mostly lopsided Florida and really lopsided Florida. 15-2 in Gainesville over that time.
You have any more numbers? No, I'm kidding.
That's all I got.
I'll give you some numbers from that 2003 game because I was there. It was a really warm day in the swamp for one, but it was a punting display. Dustin Colquitt, whose family has put several punters in the NFL, I think Mike being with the Steelers punter back in for the Steel Curtain, his dad. But my Lord, he and Eric Wilbur, they were putting on a show, dude. I remember it was unbelievable. You're sitting in the press box and the punts are going higher in the press box. Booming. Eric Wilbur had a 75-yard punt. Dustin Colquitt had a 67. They had combined 5 inside the 20. It was pretty amazing, I got to say. I remember that from that game.
Only you would. You were talking about Steve Spurrier to Lane Kiffin, and you're talking about punting anyway.
Well, Steve Spurrier was a punter in the NFL. So
he was, but he didn't want to punt at Florida, and Lane Kiffin doesn't want to punt at Ole Miss.
Talk. Anyway, okay. That's the thing I remember from that game, unbelievably. All right, reason for pessimism is, Tennessee is an up-tempo scoring machine. They lead the SEC with 40.2 points against FBS teams. Okay, they have nice balance, 303, 168 rush, 303 pass. They're tied for second in the SEC behind Ole Miss with 37 touchdowns in the red zone, 51 trips, a lot more trips than Florida's made, 73%. Gators are averaging, Mark, and I bring it up every week, though, 17 points in against FBS teams.
Right, it's not good.
It's unbelievable. And they've scored 3 fourth-quarter points in 3 games. They were shut out in the fourth quarter 2 straight games. And their third down conversion rate is 31.6%, last in the league. And they are last in the league in plays longer than 10 yards. So it's a contrast in styles for sure. Matchup offense. What do you got?
Yeah, it's the worst pass. Tennessee has the worst pass defense in the SEC. They're averaging 260 yards a game through the air, 16 touchdowns. So it's, if anything, Florida needs some help with its passing game. Tennessee's able to provide it a little bit. UF's quarterbacks connected on throws of 57 and 43 yards at Ole Miss after managing just 5 completions of 40 yards in their previous 9 games. Tennessee hasn't given up a ton of big plays, only allowed 6 40-yarders. But this is what Lagway can do. If he gets a little time in the pocket, he's not going to be, he's not going to have all of his receivers, but he'll have enough. They'll throw out Sturdivant, Mizell, and maybe
Abrams was a stud.
Abrams, maybe VB3, Ventrell Brown, Ventrell Brown the third. Maybe he'll play.
Vernell.
But Colton Hood's a really good cornerback for Tennessee. So you got to throw away from him. But, there's an option here to throw the ball and score some points.
Worlds colliding. Ventrell Miller, Mark covers too. We got too much confusion. He played here. Love Ventrell. My matchup defense is, and they'd like to have some Ventrell Miller over here, is Joey Aguilar, the quarterback for Tennessee, Cal transfer, total upgrade on Nico, who I won't even try to pronounce his last name. He abruptly entered the portal in April. You remember all that over NIL or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
Fans at UCLA were, they're not having much of a season there. Aguilar has been great. Leads the SEC with 2,941 passing yards, tied for the lead with Marcel Reed at Texas A&M, Ty Simpson at Bama, 2 studs and Heisman candidates, those 2, tied with them with 22 touchdowns, second in rating, almost 160, despite 10 interceptions, which shows you how efficient he is, because he's tied for second to last in the league, or tied for second most interceptions and still second in rating. So he's done a lot of really good things, and he's going to be a real challenge for the Gators, and they have some real studs at receiver. So, I picked the Gators to win this one, but I don't know, man. When I start looking at it, I'm like, how are they going to keep up with this offense? Who has your attention?
Caleb Banks.
Well, he might help him keep up, right?
Yeah, he's played one game this season. He's had this left foot injury that he re-injured against LSU. Played 31 snaps late in the third quarter, goes down, re-injured his left foot. He was very disruptive. I watched that game this week, that LSU-Florida game, and I had forgotten how disruptive he was. He missed what should have been 2 tackles for loss on running backs in the backfield, but he was dominant, absolutely dominant against LSU's interior defense. Really, we just lived in the backfield. But this week, they're no Mekhi Barrow, no George Gums. So Caleb Banks coming back, and he's admirable, right? This is admirable, what he's trying to do. I get it's maybe a little selfish because he's trying to set himself up to make the Senior Bowl or get an invite to the NFL Combine. But, this guy could easily shut it down. Flip to the other side, Tennessee kid who blew out his knee in January has shut it down. McCoy, right? He's not going to play, and looks like he's still going to be a first-round draft pick. But Caleb Banks has something to prove, and he's going to try, and I'll laud him for it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if selfish is the word, and I know you didn't mean that. He's just he wants to try to get up to speed, man, and hit the ground running when the season's over, so he can really show well at the Senior Bowl and all these things in the Combine, because he has all the measurables. 6'6",
he does.
325. As I joke, very little jiggle on that 325. I mean, this guy, he is put together. He's a rock. And
go really watch if you want to watch him, go watch that LSU game. I mean, he was dominant.
The fact you went back and watched that is laudable, because you got enough going on without going and rewatching the LSU game. But I will say this might be of huge benefit, not only the Gators, but I mean, Tyreek Sapp, who is a Gator. Tyreek Sapp has struggled this year. This guy's talking sack record. He was like an all-SEC second team pick. He even landed in some mock drafts, like in the first 50 picks, maybe in first round in one.
First round, yeah.
He's been the biggest disappointment on this team, I would say, even more than DJ in a way, because DJ was injured. He was injured throughout the offseason.
That's fair.
Tyreek came in ready to roll, and we love the guy. I'm not trying to rip him. He'd tell you it's disappointing season. He's really struggled, but one of the big reasons could be Caleb Banks drew a lot of attention, a lot of flies away from him last year, and he capitalized. So we'll see if he can on Saturday night. Final thought, Mark, I'll start this off. Urban Meyer will be in the house, okay? He's being honored prior to the game and ahead of his December 9th induction in the College Football Hall of Fame. And what a power class this is of coaching. He and Nick Saban, the two best coaches, I would say, of the last 25 years in the sport, going in the same year. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
This guy's record, you talk about amazing, 187-32. He's like 85.8 winning percentage. It's incredible. I think it's Newt Rockne or whatever is like the only one at like a D1 program with a better winning percentage, something like that. It's nuts. And the guy won 3 national titles. He's 2 at Florida. I covered one of them in 2006 and then headed off to cover the NFL for a while in South Florida. My last assignment with Urban Meyer, however, was 2007 signing day. Okay. I still say this has got to be one of the greatest classes ever. The Pouncey twins, Ahmad Black, all SEC safety, Chris Rainey, all out of Lakeland, Carlos Dunlap, who really just retired recently from the NFL, won a Super Bowl in his last season, I believe. Joe Hayden, all pro cornerback, right? Major Wright, one of the hardest hitters in UF history. And yeah, Aaron Hernandez, was the number 1 recruit in that class, 5-star tight end out of Connecticut, tragic story, but a great player. And then, let's not forget Cam Newton was in the class. I might be missing someone. What a freaking stud on the recruiting trail and on the sideline. I only covered him a couple of years. Mark had a much deeper relationship with him.
Yeah, I like Urban. In fact, I texted with him the other night talking about, him coming back. It was actually last night, as a matter of fact. And, he's an intriguing dude, man, maniacal. recruiter, maniacal play caller, like a guy who gets in, what they're going to do, how they're going to pick up a first down, how they're going to move the ball, how they're X's and O's. I was just listening to the podcast, the Gators podcast. Sean Kelly interviewed Urban, and it just brings back a lot of memories. Like Urban was like, "Listen, recruiting was a game, and it was a game we weren't willing to lose. We did not want to lose. So every recruit was everything." He's like, "I didn't hire coaches based on whether they could coach. I hired coaches based on whether they could recruit, and that was their job. 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, they were recruiting. And I had high expectations. And that's why he kind of had his inner circle, right? And was very tight and bonded with those guys from Utah to Florida. Some of them even followed him up to Ohio State. But, things went south with the Jags. Things went south a little bit at Ohio State with some of his decisions. I don't think Urban would be the first. He'd be the first to tell you that he wasn't perfect. Some of the stuff he did off the field. Winning, his desire to win clouded a lot of his judgment, I believe. But, man, was he something. He's a force of nature and, burned himself out, right, at Florida. Burned his health. Burned himself out with the Jags, trying to do things his way. Square peg in a round hole, those kind of things. But, man, he is something else, that's for sure. And he'll be great to be back in the swamp. Listen, this guy should be in the Ring of Honor. We've talked about this ad nauseum. He was going to be in the Ring of Honor when Billy Napier's first game against Utah in the swamp. Big win for Napier. But that was supposed to be Urban's, induction into the Ring of Honor. Stuff had gone sideways in Jacksonville the previous year in 2001, and Florida just didn't feel like it could do it. The timing was off. He'll get in. I assume he'll get in next year. They should put him in this year. In fact, I'll say this. They shouldn't let him leave. If Lane Kiffin looks like Lane Kiffin's going to LSU, Urban Meyer would be a great option short term to hold this program together, and maybe you need another cycle to figure out who your next head coach is.
Oh my Lord. So we're going there. So Urban, one thing always that was impressive about him, the one area you didn't touch on, is his focus on special teams. Brandon James, what a legend. And he put great kickers and punters and all that. But the way they block kicks, now you pointed this out when we talked about this a year ago, I believe. The rules have kind of changed a bit there. We don't need to get into the whole breakdown of the rule changes. But they blocked 17 kicks combined in those two national title seasons. I mean, that's an insane number of block kicks. So anyhow, I tell you, talking about blocks, I'm going to do my best to block Mark going forward because I'm bleeding here, losing gas, steam, whatever metaphor you want. Mark is closing in. I'm stumbling down the stretch like the Gators second half offense right here. Mark picked up another game. He's eroding my lead here. He was 3-5. I was inglorious. What would I have been? 2-6. My Lord, I've
2-6. Yeah,
I've won 2 wins in like
two straight. Yeah, 2-4, 2-4, 2-6.
Oh, it's a debacle. I'm still 44, 38-2, which is amazing. But I'm only 4 games up. Mark's 40, 42-2. Take it away. What are we picking, man?
I'm going to get my 4 back right here this week. That's my belief.
I'm blocking you, man.
No way. You can't block me on all of them. Charlotte at number 4, Georgia. Georgia minus 43.5. Again, you know how I believe these, yes, Georgia is at home, but they got CFP, man, matters. I'm taking Georgia.
I'm taking Georgia. All right. What do we got next?
Okay, Mercer at Auburn. Auburn's given 27.5. You're up.
I'll take Auburn.
Yeah, I'm going to take Auburn too. I have no faith in any of these teams. Coastal Carolina at South Carolina. South Carolina given 24.5 at home. I'm up. I'm going to take South Carolina.
Likewise.
I don't know how I'd pick. Western Kentucky at LSU. LSU's given 22.5. You're up.
LSU.
Same. Kentucky at Vandy. Now it's getting interesting. Vandy's given 9.5. I'm up. I will take Vandy. They still have an outside shot at the CFP. I think they got a lot to play for.
In Diego, we trust Vandy.
Arkansas at Texas, number 10, Texas -9.
Texas.
Same. Golly. Number 23, Missouri at number 11, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's in the CFP mix. I got to think OU.
So much for you making up for. I'm taking Oklahoma.
All right, here we go. Finally, I'll make one up. Number 20, Tennessee at Florida. Tennessee, haven't won in the swamp since 2003, -4.5. That number, that's interesting. The Florida opened as a 1.5 favorite, and that line has moved 5 points in the other direction. Somebody knows something.
I'm taking Florida. I picked them in the paper, 27-24. So
you said you took Tennessee.
No, I took Florida in the paper, 27-24. I have to stay consistent.
All right, well, I'm going to take Tennessee then. I was taking whoever you weren't taking.
You're not closing 4 games. In fact, I'm going 8-0 this week. All right. So let's shift real quickly and wrap this baby up. Our goal is 45 and under, and we're going to make it if we can do this. So Foley's Corner, our weekly nod to the former athletic director. Take it away with rings awarded the national championship basketball team.
Yeah, they came in. Sounds like they came in on Monday or Tuesday, and Todd really had set this thing up pretty well. They got these rings. They're amazing. They open up, and they have the O-dome on the inside. They got a certain number of diamonds, 12 diamonds because of the 12 large diamonds because of the 12-point win in the title game. The 12-point, they overcame a 12-point deficit to win the title game.
Nice.
And so they got 12 bigger diamonds in there. They've got the score of the national championship. They actually have the score of all 6 games and the teams they beat engraved there. They've got they don't have Gator Boys Stay Hot, but they do have a team motto on the inside. It's beautiful. I mean, anybody, you just go on social media, Florida Gators, their basketball social media, and you'll be able to find it. Fantastic. But they orchestrated this to where they sent out 3 sets of assistants to the Golden State Warriors, where Will Richard is, to the Toronto Raptors, where Elijah Martin is, and to the Utah Jazz, where Walter Clayton is. So, and they did it almost simultaneously, same night, Tuesday night. They presented Will Richard his, Walter Clayton his, and Elijah Martin his, and pretty cool stuff. If you watch Will Richard scoring points that night, Steph Curry's on the sideline doing the Gator chomp to the fans in Orlando, who have obviously had a lot of appreciation for Will Richard there. But fantastic stuff. Then the next night, last night, Wednesday night, the entire team got theirs. Todd had everybody over at his house, coaches, players, staff, and presented them their little goodie bags one at a time, said something nice about them, and everybody got their rings. So we're going to see them. I think you asked Todd to bring it tomorrow night, so he's going to bring it to the game against Merrimack tomorrow night. But very cool moment that they got their rings and the way they were able to go around the country and get them to the 3 big guys, right? The three who really carried the Gators to the title.
Yeah, that's probably, I guess, the final chapter of that championship season has been officially closed. But that was such an exhilarating run, as we've talked about on here many times. Really fun. And, well-deserved. Will Richard, man. That guy, as Todd pointed out today, is already garnering respect on that team and a key role.
Such a pro. He's just such a pro already.
Yeah. He kind of was here. He was very, self-assured, but, had his slumps. And speaking of slumps, the Gators are going in this Merrimack game, slumping from the 3-point line. It's a chance for them to kind of get some traction with the shooting, do a lot of things well. If they can start shooting a little bit better, this team could be extremely dangerous. All eyes on Ollie tomorrow night. Let's see if Ollie can score his first points. And a couple other things real fast, Mark. The tennis programs that certainly have taken a step back since Brian Shelton left and Roland Thornquist left and had built championship programs. Still doing some things. Henry Jefferson, and I'm going to ruin this guy's name, Tanapot, we'll just call him, advanced the round of 16 in doubles, so they're still alive. Jeremy Jin's run ended in the round of 32. You had a young woman whose name I'll butcher, Gabia. You can read it if you want to try. She reached 32. Say that?
Pascuasis.
Did you listen to it?
No.
Well, you should probably need to, but I'm kidding. You might be right. And then there's a doubles team, unpronounceable, that lost in under 32. So if you're
a real international team, it looks like.
I mean, my Lord. I mean, it's an international sport, but I tell you, Swamp Things is not up to the challenge of these names. Thanks for the conversation, Mark.
Thanks for having me, as always.
I also want to thank Wesley for her continued efforts. The three of us appreciate everyone who took time from their busy lives to join us. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to Swamp Things, your Florida Gators podcast. For more coverage, visit OrlandoSentinel.com and APnews.com. On Twitter, follow Edgar at OS Gators and Mark at AP Mark Long. Please subscribe to this podcast, share it on social media, and review it on iTunes. See you next time.